Welcome back, or welcome to the Cognitive Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Clint Rahe, high performance coach, speaker, and author of The Cognitive Athlete. This podcast is about helping leaders, thinkers, and doers perform at their best without burning out. Now, over the last 2 weeks, we've been laying some foundations. Week 1 was about stabilizing pace, stopping the energy bleed. Week 2 was about understanding energy, where it's going, and what's draining it. If you've done even a part of that work, you should start feeling some sort of shift. It's not perfect, but it's probably a little bit more steadier. And that matters because this week, week 3, is where we zoom out. This is where we stop reacting week to week and start designing performance properly. Let's dive into it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped and wondered why sport produces so many high-performance teams? Because if I had $1 for every leader who said to me, I want a high-performance team, I'd be a very rich person. And here's the real question. Why does high performance actually work in sport? I'll tell you why. It's structure. Sport works because there is a defined season. There is a start, there is a finish. You know what winning is. There are training blocks, there are builder phases, there are peak moments, and there are recovery periods all built into that. Think about this. You don't get stronger in the gym by guessing. You follow a plan. And you don't lose weight just by accident. You follow a plan. But in the corporate world, the plan seems to be work your ass off for 40 to 45 years and hope you end up on top. This was a big lesson for me when I moved from designing fitness and conditioning programs for athletes into the world of knowledge work. In sport, everything is planned. Your time, your load, specificity, intensity, and recovery. But when I started working with leaders and professional knowledge workers, I saw almost none of that. So now, when I work with corporate coaching clients, I ask a simple question. What is your season? And almost every time I get pushback. People say, we don't have seasons, it's flat out all year. And I'll say, well, there are natural peaks and troughs. You just haven't identified them yet. Then we go and open the calendar. And it's a disaster zone. Back-to-back meetings, zero space, no buffers, no thinking time. I bet if you looked at your calendar right now, it would be similar. Double or triple bookings. There'll be no lunch break scheduled in. I see it all the time. And then I ask, when do you actually do your own work? And the answer is almost always in the evenings or early in the mornings. Now, that's not high performance. That's survival. And it's not sustainable for 40 to 45 years. Let me share an example. I was working with a business owner. Now, business owners, you're constantly under pressure. You always need to be on. There are no breaks. And I worked with this one particular person who hadn't taken time off, proper time off, in years. So we didn't start with a big holiday. What we did, we scheduled in 2 days off at the end of every quarter. Not a full week, just a long weekend. Over time, as his systems improved and people were trained and then trust increased, that long weekend actually became a full week. Now that didn't happen by accident. It happened because the season was designed in quarters which really suited that person. Now, yours could be different. Yours could be monthly. Yours could be every 6 months or even every 12 months. Here's the simplest way to understand this. Your brain is not designed to operate at a constant level of intensity. It works in cycles. Across a day, your alertness naturally rises and falls. Across a week, your capacity changes. Across months, your tolerance for pressure shifts. This isn't mindset, it's actually biology. When cognitive demand stays high for too long without downshifting, the brain adapts by conserving energy. You'll find focus narrows, decision-making becomes reactive, and emotional control drops. You don't just feel tired, you think differently too. That's why trying to work at the same intensity all year eventually backfires. Performance doesn't stay flat, it actually declines. High-performing environments understand this. They don't eliminate pressure, they sequence it. They plan periods of high demand, followed by periods where the load deliberately drops so the system can reset. That's what rhythm really is. Not balance, not doing less, but intentionally alternating push and recovery so performance can be sustained. When you plan your calendar without rhythm, everything becomes urgent. I've seen it. When you plan with rhythm, pressure becomes tolerable, and that's the key difference. So let's turn all of this into some action. So here are the actions for week 3. The focus this week is design. Not detail, not optimization, just structure. And you have the 4 actions this week. Action number 1, define the next 10 weeks. Not the whole year, just plan the next 10 weeks only. This is your training block. Look at work commitments, personal commitments, known pressure points. This block is what matters right now. Action number 2, identify peak periods. Have a look over the next 10 weeks and identify 1 or 2 peak demand periods. Whether it's deadline driven, whether projects, presentations, high stakes moments, name them. If you don't identify them, they'll control you by default. Action number 3, identify a lower intensity window. Now, deliberately identify one lighter or a recovery window of quieter work. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a few days, maybe a few meetings, something where there's some reduced expectations. Now, it's not being lazy. This is a real good performance hack. Identifying areas for deliberate recovery. This is a performance enhancing action. Finally, action number 4, go onto the website and download and use the planner. It's in the resources section. So head over there, thecognitiveathlete.com.au, download the periodization planning sheet. It's the first one on that page, and it's designed to help you see your peaks and troughs clearly, avoid accidental overload, and create a bit of rhythm instead of all the chaos. And here's an important rule for this week. Do not aim for balance. Aim for intentional imbalance. Some weeks you need to push, some weeks you need to protect. That's how high performance actually works. So let's bring all of this together. Week 1, we looked at stabilizing your pace. Week 2, clarifying your energy. Week 3, design your next training block. We're no longer reacting, you're cognitively training. Next week, week 4, we zoom back in. Because once structure is in place, we need to then rebuild something that most people lose over time. Focus. We'll talk about why focus isn't a personality trait, why mental fog is actually normal, and how to retrain attention without forcing it. If today's episode helped, hit follow, subscribe, or leave a quick review. It genuinely helps this podcast reach the people who need it most. And if you want to go deeper, The Cognitive Athlete is out now in all bookshops and online. It's even at the airport. You can head over to the website and it's got loads of free tools, resources and assessments that you can use. Thanks for listening. And remember, flat out all year isn't strength. Rhythm is. I'll see you next time.